Have you ever stopped to think about how close we are to sound, especially through like one key
I
device?
mean, headphones?
Exactly. Headphones, whether you're trying to focus at work, in a noisy office, or maybe you're lost in some great music on your commute.
Or even making music, right.
Yeah,
In a studio setting, they're indispensable.
totally.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into something I think is really fascinating, the global monitor headphone market.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we've looked at some really interesting insights from cognitive market research.
Okay.
And our goal, really, is to kind of sift through that data, pull out the most important bits, the key takeaways about growth, where it's happening regionally.
And maybe some surprising facts, too.
Definitely some surprising facts. Basically help you get up to speed really quickly on where this whole industry is
All
going.
right, let's start with the big picture then, because the overall market size, it really tells a story, doesn't it, about some major growth.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, back in 2021, this market was already tooling in, nearly $2.5 billion globally?
$2,479 million, yeah. Almost $2.5 billion. But what's really interesting isn't just that number, it's the path forward.
The trajectory.
Exactly. It's projected to hit almost $3.2 billion by 2025.
Okay, that's pretty quick growth.
It is. But then, looking further out, the forecast anticipates it ballooning to, get this, $5.27 billion by 2033.
Wow, over 5 billion. That's more than double the 2021 number.
In just over a decade, yeah.
Yeah.
And underpinning that is a really steady global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR of nearly 6.5%.
So 6.487% to be precise.
Right. Which signals, this isn't just some niche market. It's healthy. It's got real sustained momentum.
So what does that momentum actually mean? What does it tell us?
Well, it suggests this isn't just some passing tech fad. It's more fundamental.
Like a growing need for quality audio.
Precisely. Whether that's for professionals creating content or just, people like us wanting better sound for listening.
People are investing more in precision sound.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
And when you look at where that growth is happening, North America really stands out. It's leading the charge.
Okay, North America, how big are we talking?
Well, in 2021, it was already close to $1 billion, $989 million.
Just for North America.
Just North America. And it's projected to more than double, over $2 billion by 2033, still growing strong at about a 6.1% CAGR. It's a powerhouse, no doubt.
And I assume the U.S. is the main engine there.
Oh, definitely. The U.S. accounted for almost $800 million of that 2021 figure.
Right.
And it's expected to cross $1.6 billion by 2033.
But it's not just the U.S. driving it, is it? I saw something interesting about Canada.
You did. Canada's showing really robust growth, a 4GR of nearly 7.4%.
That's quite a bit higher than the overall North American rate.
It is. It suggests maybe a faster adoption rate or expanding user base. They're really seeking that higher quality audio. They're projected to go from about $105 million to $236 million.
Interesting. And Mexico.
Mexico's solid, too.
Yeah.
Around $87 million in 2021, projected to hit almost $189 million by 2033. That's a healthy 6.5% CAGR.
So yeah, really strong growth across the board in North America. Okay, let's hop across the pond. Europe. What's the soundscape like there?
Europe's interesting. It feels maybe a bit more strategic,
Yeah.
diverse in its expansion. The market there was around $714 million back in 2021.
Okay.
And it's set to grow to over $1.46 billion by 2033. So also doubling, roughly. The CAGR is respectable, very similar to North America, actually, at 6.1%.
And who are the key players? Germany, UK?
Yeah, the usual suspect. Germany's projected to reach over $250 million. The UK climbing to nearly $155 million.
Right.
But France is one to watch there.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
It had a noticeably stronger CAGR, almost 7%. 6.946% to be exact.
Okay.
Taking it from about $88 million to over $193 million by 2033. That faster pace, it suggests something's clicking really well there, maybe faster adoption.
And it's not just those three, right? Italy, Spain.
Nope. Growth across the board. Italy's basically doubling its market size. Russia making significant gains too, nearly doubling. Spain also growing steadily.
But you mentioned something earlier about surprising nuggets. Is there one in Europe?
There is. And it's in that rest of Europe category. The country is not individually listed.
Okay, what about it?
That collective group actually shows the highest CAGR within Europe, a really strong 7.58%.
Higher than France even.
Yep. Jumping from around $169 million in 2021 to over $392 million by 2033.
Wow. So that means demand is really spreading out, doesn't it? Beyond just the biggest economy.
Exactly. It suggests a widespread maybe even accelerating adoption across a whole range of different European markets. Quality audio is catching on everywhere.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now, Asia Pacific, you described this as a crescendo. Sounds like things are really heating up there.
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking for, like, dynamic expansion, APAC is the place. It's a major growth engine.
The numbers.
Overall, CGR is high, 7.75%, growing from about $463 million in 2021
Okay.
to a projected $1.1 billion by 2033. So, again, more than doubling. A billion-dollar market just in that region.
Huge. And China's leading that, I imagine.
As you'd expect, yeah. China was over $134 million in 2021, heading towards $308 million by 2033. Significant share.
And Japan, also a big audio market
It's
traditional.
very big. Japan's close behind China, starting at $94 million in 2021, projected to hit over $215 million. So, established markets are definitely embracing this trend.
You hinted at something really interesting here, too. India.
Yes. Okay. This is one of the really interesting points of the whole region. India has the strongest CAGR in APAC,
How strong?
8.52%.
Wow, 8.5. That's significantly higher.
It is. It's climbing from nearly $68 million to over $171 million by 2033.
What do you think drives that? Is it like a local creator boom or just more consumers wanting better sound?
Good question. It's totally, a mix of both. A growing middle class, maybe more local content creation, increased internet penetration.
Mhm.
Lots of factors potentially.
And beyond the giants, Korea, Australia.
Yep. Strong, consistent growth there too. South Korea is effectively doubling its market size. Australia, Singapore showing solid gains. Southeast Asia as a whole is pushing past $100 million. Even Taiwan is growing steadily.
Okay, so broad strength. But
Mhm.
you mentioned the most surprising nugget earlier.
Yep.
Where was that?
Right here in APAC. Again, it's in the rest of category, the rest of APAC.
Okay. Don't tell me it's even higher.
It is. This group shows the highest regional CAGR we've seen anywhere. A stunning 9.58%.
Nearly 10%.
Yeah, it's almost tripling in size, from around $52 million in 2021 to over $143 million by 2033.
That's incredible. What does that even mean? Like tiny markets suddenly exploding?
It suggests a huge surge in adoption, maybe new content creation hubs popping up
Yeah.
across a really diverse mix of smaller or emerging economies in the Asia-Pacific region. Really dynamic stuff happening under the radar.
Wow, okay, that is a nugget. Let's round out the globe then. South America, Middle East, Africa. What's the picture there?
Let's look at South America first. Also showing impressive growth, actually.
Yeah.
From about $171 million in 2021 to over $411 million projected by 2033.
Mm-hmm.
That's a strong CGR, too, about 7.5%.
And Brazil's leading the way there, I assume.
Brazil's the biggest, yeah, growing to over $122 million.
Okay. Any other standouts?
Argentina. It shows a really strong CGR, over 8%, 8.06%.
Higher than the regional average again.
Exactly. Climbing from about $24 million to nearly $60 million. And you guessed it, the rest of South America category.
Strong growth, too.
Yep, very robust. Nearly 7.9% CAGR, jumping from $69 million to over $171 million. It really hammers home that point. Demand is spreading everywhere, not just concentrated in one or two places.
Okay. What about the Middle East?
Middle East is a bit more moderate, still growing about a 4.76% CAGR, reaching nearly $147 million by 2033.
Any pockets of faster growth?
The UAE stands out a bit. It has a higher CGR, closer to 5.8%. So again, specific economic factors or maybe cultural trends driving slightly faster adoption there.
Right. And finally, Africa.
Africa's expanding steadily too.
Yeah.
From about $54.5 million in 2021 to over $111 million by 2033. It's a 5.2% CAGR.
Okay. Any specific countries? Nigeria, South Africa?
Exactly. Nigeria is growing significantly, expected to reach nearly $23.6 million. South Africa expanding to over $37.5 million.
So even in, developing economies, the demand for better audio is definitely climbing.
Absolutely. And the rest of Africa follows that pattern too. Consistent growth. It just shows this trend towards quality audio, whether for professional work or just personal enjoyment. It's becoming a global phenomenon.
So let's zoom out again. We've looked at all these regions, all these numbers. What's the big picture takeaway for, someone listening right now?
I think the main thing is that this market, the Monitor Headphone Market, it's really harmonizing. It's blending technological innovation with this rising consumer demand everywhere.
It's not just about selling more headphones. It's a shift.
It feels like a global shift towards valuing higher quality audio experiences. Definitely.
And this growth, sometimes steady, sometimes, like you said, almost exponential in places.
Yeah.
It must be creating a really competitive environment.
Oh, for sure. It means there are opportunities everywhere. For the big established brands, yes, but also for, nimbler emerging companies, maybe focusing on specific niches or regions.
Which for us as listeners or potential buyers is good news, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It means more innovation is likely coming down the pipeline, more choices, better sound quality potentially, maybe even headphones designed for really specific tasks.
Yeah, I can see that. Like the tools that used to be just for pro studios are becoming more accessible. That could fuel a lot of creativity.
Exactly. Think about content creators, home studios, podcasters.
Right. So this evolution, it's definitely going to shape future products, maybe even how content gets made and how we listen to it.
It's a really compelling story.
Yeah.
You see North America setting a strong pace, but then you have this incredible dynamism in Asia Pacific and solid widespread growth pretty much everywhere else. Europe, South America, Middle East, Africa.
It really underlines how important and how growing the role of monitor headphones is in our kind of audio-centric world today.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. Given this really significant ongoing global growth we've talked about, how might the evolution of these monitor headphones keep changing things?
Good question.
Like, will it just be about pro audio? Or will it fundamentally change our personal listening, how we interact with sound every day?
Maybe we'll see more personalized sound tech or new kinds of immersive audio experiences driven by these super precise headphones.
Could be. It feels like the future of sound, especially through headphones like these, is definitely tuned for some pretty big developments.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging right into a really interesting corner of the audio world,
That's right.
the global monitor headphone market. It's evolving incredibly quickly.
It really is. And, the first thing to grasp is that these aren't your standard consumer headphones.
Right, a different beast altogether.
Totally. Monitor headphones are about precision. They're tools,
Yeah.
really, designed for accuracy, giving you that flat, uncolored sound.
Right.
And the boom we're seeing, it's tightly linked to, well, the creator economy exploding, digital production getting more sophisticated, and just this growing hunger for high-fidelity listening.
Perfect. And just so you know, all the data, the insights we're using today, they come from a single trusted source, Cognitive Market Research.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission here is to pull out the key takeaways, the really important stuff from their research, so you can get up to speed quickly on this dynamic market.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Every market that's booming has these driving forces, right? What exactly is making monitor headphones such a hot commodity right now?
Yeah. Well, the first big one, and maybe the most significant, is just the huge growth in home studios and what people are calling the creator economy.
We're right. You hear that term everywhere.
You do. Cognitive Market Research points out there are over 50 million creators globally now. Think musicians, podcasters, streamers, video editors.
Wow, 50 million.
Yeah. And the key insight isn't just the number, it's this kind of democratization of pro audio. It used to be only big studios could get that top sound. Now, someone in their bedroom, an indie artist, they can achieve really high quality. And for that, monitored headphones are essential. These prosumers, they need accuracy.
That makes complete sense. It levels the playing field. And I guess that ties into the second driver, this demand for high-fidelity audio.
Exactly. We're seeing audiophiles, people who really care about sound quality, actively looking for neutral headphones.
They want the real thing.
Precisely. They want to hear the music exactly as the artist and engineer intended, without boosted bass or anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is definitely being pushed along by high-res audio streaming platforms becoming more popular. It's shifting people away from those sort of typical consumer models towards reference gear.
Hearing it as the artist intended. That's a powerful idea.
It is. And then beyond individuals, there's a huge B2B angle, business-to-business demand.
Oh.
Think about film, TV, gaming, podcasting, production houses. They all rely heavily on monitor headphones.
For the critical stuff.
Absolutely. Tracking, editing, mixing, these are essential tools throughout the media world. The standards are just getting higher and higher, so you need that precision.
So if you take all that together, the creators, the audiophiles, the professional studios, it paints a pretty strong picture.
Definitely. It's a market with real momentum, built on a pretty solid foundation for growth.
It certainly sounds like it's got momentum, but, rapid growth often comes with Well, challenges, roadblocks. What hurdles is the industry facing?
Yeah, no market's perfect. One of the main ones is simply the price. High-end monitor headphones can be pretty expensive. And that can definitely put off casual users.
Yeah.
Or even places like schools or smaller studios working on tight budgets. The barrier to entry is still quite high for the really top-tier stuff.
And it's not just the cost, is it? I mean, the market feels crowded, saturated.
Oh, absolutely. Brand saturation is a real issue. And honestly, a lot of products seem to offer very similar features,
Mm.
which makes it tough, really tough for new companies to come in, differentiate themselves, and build trust. How do you stand out when there are so many good enough options already?
That's the great question.
And then there's the barrier of, well, consumer confusion. We touched on it, but the technical specs.
Oh, yeah. Impedance, frequency response.
Exactly. Impedance, frequency response, driver type. These terms can sound really intimidating if you're not familiar with them.
Can you break those down just a little? Like impedance?
Sure. So impedance basically tells you how much power the headphones need. Low impedance is easier to drive from, say, a phone. High impedance often needs a dedicated amplifier. Frequency response is about how accurately they reproduce different pitches, from low bass to high treble. You ideally want flat for monitoring.
Meaning no artificial boosting.
Right. And driver type is just the tech that makes the sound dynamic, planar magnetic, etc. Each has its pros and cons. But yeah, understanding this stuff helps you choose wisely, but the jargon, it definitely puts some people off.
I can totally see that. It feels overwhelming sometimes. Like trying to choose, I don't know, vitamins, so many options, complex labels. You just want something that works. That confusion is definitely a hurdle.
It really is.
Okay, but let's pivot. Let's look ahead. What are the exciting things, the key trends that are shaping the future of this market? Where's it going?
Right, there's some cool stuff happening. The first big trend, and I think it's a potential game changer, is headphone calibration software.
Like SonarWorks Sounded Reference. I've heard of that.
Exactly like that. What these tools do is measure your headphones and then apply a correction curve in real time. It basically smooths out the frequency response issues.
So you get that flat reference sound.
Pretty much, yeah. Even on headphones that aren't perfectly neutral to begin with, the implication is huge.
It means you don't necessarily need the most expensive monitors.
Potentially, yes. Or at least it brings that level of accuracy within reach for more people. It's democratizing high-precision sound even further. It really challenges the idea that you need a perfectly treated room.
Wow, that is interesting. Software fixing hardware limitations. What else?
The second trend is a definite shift towards modular headphones. Serviceable designs.
Meaning you can replace parts.
Exactly. Swap out cables easily, change the ear pads, sometimes even the headband.
That sounds great for longevity.
It is. It extends the product life, which is more sustainable, and it offers more customization. Creators, especially like this, people using their gear for hours every day, it moves away from disposable tech.
Good point. More sustainable, too. Okay, trend number 3.
Trend 3 is interesting. It's the rise of open-back monitor headphones, specifically in gaming and streaming.
Open back. How does that differ?
So, closed-back headphones isolate sound, keep it in. Open-back designs let sound escape, which usually creates a wider, more natural sound stage, like the sound is happening around you, not just inside your head.
Okay. And more comfortable, maybe.
Generally, yes, often lighter and less sweaty for long sessions, which is perfect for gamers and streamers.
Right.
What's fascinating is how these users are adopting monitor headphones, not just for quality, but for that immersion. The lines are blurring between entertainment and pro audio needs. Sound is just becoming critical everywhere.
That really shows how far things have come.
Okay.
So let's zoom out a bit. The bigger picture. Macroeconomics. What major factors are playing into this whole market globally?
Yeah, our source, Cognitive Market Research, really highlights one significant policy here. The Trump administration's 2025 Liberation Day tariffs. Now, we're just reporting what the source says here.
Understood. Impartially.
Right. So these tariffs have apparently caused electronics tariffs to shoot up. We're talking up to 145% on certain Chinese consumer goods and 25% on key components like semiconductors.
Oof. That sounds significant.
It is. And it puts immense pressure on the global supply chain, particularly for audio electronics, which often rely heavily on Chinese manufacturing or components.
So the direct hit on monitor headphones is what? Price increases?
Definitely seeing price increases at retail, yeah. And because so many headphones or their parts come from China or use Chinese subcomponents, it's unavoidable for many brands.
Are they moving production?
We're seeing a clear shift, yes.
Yeah.
Brands are actively looking at and moving manufacturing to countries like India and Mexico more and more.
Interesting.
And it's even forcing some companies to actually redesign products to use different materials or components to avoid the highest tariffs. It's a massive logistical headache.
Wow. So how are companies coping? The successful ones, anyway.
Well, according to cognitive market research, the companies that are navigating this best are the ones really investing in market intelligence.
Well, meaning?
Meaning using tools like supplier mapping, knowing exactly where every part comes from and who else makes it, and BOM optimization, bill of materials, basically scrutinizing every single component, finding alternatives, managing those rising input costs,
Okay.
and also scenario planning, thinking ahead, what if this happens? What if that trade route is disrupted? It helps them handle bottlenecks and secure their supply chains better. Proactive strategies are key.
Right. Being prepared instead of just reacting. Makes sense. Okay, so to kind of wrap this up, what we've seen today is that the monitor headphone market is definitely riding high. You've got the creator economy, the audiophile demand, digital content just exploding everywhere.
Absolutely. Huge growth drivers. But as we discussed, they're balanced against some pretty serious challenges. Those tariffs are a big one, component complexity, just fierce competition.
Yeah.
It really demands smart, research-based strategies from the companies involved. You can't just coast.
Precisely. And, that leaves us with something to chew on. A final thought for you, the listener. With these rising costs, the supply chain shifts driven by tariffs, how do you think the global manufacturing map for specialized tech like this will continue to change? And maybe more interestingly, what new innovations might actually spring up because of these pressures? Sometimes constraints force creativity, right? Something to think about.